Land of Eem. Diverse and colorful characters, unique species and classes to play, less crunchy and more creative, simple rules, ways to avoid combat, and when you do draw your weapons, the fights are fast. But Land of Eem isn't just a set of rules, it's also a rich, expansive world. We created a huge sandbox setting with tons of locations, NPCs, quest hooks, rumors, and creatures to discover.
Hey there, everybody. Gen X Men back on a Tabletop Tuesday. Roll for initiative. I actually got something new for y'all today. Doing something just a touch different, a little bit more informal, as the missus and I just got back from a mini vacation up north to her hometown of Rochester, New York, which is not New York City. Still settling back in, getting back to normal, but thanks to the generosity of a family friend, I have a couple new RPGs in the bar. Sadly, I haven't had much of a chance to do anything with them. We got these at a very impressive shop down at the southern end of the city called Millennium Games. And let me digress for just a moment to blow some sunshine off these fine folks' behinds. This place was amazing. I mean, row upon row upon row of board games and RPGs and accessories, you name it. Didn't see any West End games, Star Wars books, which was disappointing, but they had Fantasy Flight Games, had studio stuff, they had a D20 stuff, and it was cheap. There was tons of used stuff in these used bins, $10, $15, and tons of other stuff too. Magic cards, sleeves, play mats. I mean, just check it out. If you're in the area, it's quite a little store. Back to there. So first thing I bought there, advertised right up front when you walked in, is the Land of Eem. The premise of this game is, and I quote, like Lord of the Rings meets the Muppets. Well, I love Lord of the Rings and I loved the Muppets when I was a kid, but will I love them together? This RPG caught my eye a couple months ago, and I added it to the list of things to buy if I ever had a chance. And I was watching a review for it, and I'm a huge Bloomborough with Magic the Gathering, huge Bloomborough fan. I'm a huge Humblewood fan for the fifth edition D&D and such. And I grew up on Disney movies, especially the '73 Robin Hood. So you could make the argument cartoon animal people have been in my blood my whole life. So and then I start seeing reviews for this adorable little RPG, Land of Eem. But I snatched up the core rule book, didn't commit to the peripherals until I find out if it's something I enjoy. And as I said, we've been on vacation up in Rochester for a couple days, so I haven't had a chance to play it. I'll be doing that over the next week and uploading some thoughts for the next Tabletop Tuesday, like I did with the dice video. As for a review of sorts, basically talking about my hopes and expectations. The Land of Eem grew, as many things to do these days, out of crowdfunding, beginning way back in 2021, 2022, somewhere in there. The folks behind it were primarily Ben Costa and James Parks, who wrote the novel series Rickety Snitch and the Gelatinous Goo, as well as Dungeoneer Adventures. I'm not familiar. The project was published through Exalted Funeral, website with an eye for independent games. And this was kind of neat, as Exalted Funeral put their name on it and took responsibility for it. And this contrasts sharply with a couple of other crowdfunded disasters where it was just a guy, and that guy didn't deliver the goods, and then the guy went into hiding. You know who you are. Anyway, moving on. The project funded about a quarter million and ended August 11th, 2022. Physical copies of the books are everywhere. Obviously, I found it at brick and mortar store. It's online everywhere. And you can get the PDFs everywhere, Drive Through RPG, all that kind of stuff. So it's not difficult to find a copy. Fan reviews reflect the game's OSR roots, which is a welcome endorsement for me. Apparently, you use, or primarily used, a D12, with the results not bound by strict failure success, having a narrative element such as failure, but with a boon, a bit like the Fantasy Flight Games dice system I just reviewed, but without dice pools and that kind of stuff that can bog down the gameplay. But we'll see. It seems to encourage players to make things up on the fly, encouraging them to come up with solutions that aren't planned out, that they just kind of invent. And this encourages narrative participation, which is interesting. And if true, this will be the first time seeing something like that in anything that I personally played. So I'm curious how that'll pan out. Also, some narrative prompts that can springboard RP around a campfire during downtime. So that's interesting. So, like, instead of just camping and waiting for your players to interact, which especially with a new group they won't. This is interesting. It can be a challenge, getting people to open up at first around the table. But man, once you get folks started, you find out who the talkers are. So that's encouraging that it's baked into the rules. I mean, it can help the shy ones get in the mix if they want. So we'll see how it pans out. One aspect that gives me pause is, and there's more than one, but is that your abilities, your core stats, are apparently locked in and can never change. That sounds silly and unrealistic. We'll have to see how that plays out. It has some rules on fatigue, so that's good in a travel-centric adventure game. Looks like they've ultra simplified enemies into tiers that can be quickly busted out. So that's a very welcome notion. Designing encounters around a combat rating system always felt clunky. Maybe this is better. We'll see. Uh, this this caught my attention though. The guidelines on XP dole out an average of 15 points per session. That's identical to West End Games' Star Wars system. So I wonder if we'll find anything else similar. We'll just have to play it and find out. And that will be done next week in my next Tabletop Tuesday. So yeah, check that out. Also looks like it has a robust system for determining what pops out of monsters after you slay them. Yeah, I'm liking the sound of that. And more tables, man. More tables is fun. Finding all kinds of weird stuff. And speaking of, there are an absolute ton of random tables in this book. There equipment, magic items, dungeons, puzzles, traps. So I mean, look, flip open a random page, tables. On and on. This is nice. So, what doesn't sound nice, another thing that doesn't sound nice is that your damage that your little characters do is determined by your class, not your weapon, which is weird. But maybe it fits the flow and the design of the game. We'll have to see. But I'll tell you what has me the most excited though. I'm looking at these drawings and I'm just, sometimes you just want to be silly and stupid. You're tired of the edgelord grittiness, you're tired of the seriousness, you just want Saturday morning cartoons back, if only for a little while. And that's really what this looks like to me. And what has me most excited about it, how much it rings that bell of Saturday morning cartoons. We got whimsical classes and races, we got monsters, all kinds of stuff to really fully immerse you into an episode of, pick your favorite 80s cartoon of choice. And that's what excites me. And that's what I hope to find when I get a chance to sit down and play it here in the next week. So definitely tune in next Tuesday, and I hope to have a little encounter session like I did with the Fantasy Flight game dice, and give you all an example of how it plays and what it's like. But anyway, that's about all I have for today. Just quick and dirty review of my hopes and expectations, kind of setting up next week's video. So we'll see how it pans out. If you've played Land of Eem or have some thoughts on it, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from y'all. And give a like and subscribe. And I'll see you here on Super Saturday next, if not sooner. Thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a good